nilai-nilai dan budaya adiluhung Nusantara. Digitalisasi layanan pendidikan mempermudah masyarakat dan mahasiswa mendapatkan informasi mengenai UT. Selain tercetak, bahan ajar juga diberikan dalam bentuk digital guna memudahkan mobilitas mahasiswa. Dengan demikian, belajar bisa dilakukan di mana saja, kapan saja, dan bersama siapa saja. Digitalisasi pendidikan juga diformulasikan ke dalam loka pasar digital mata kuliah yang ditawarkan oleh Indonesia Cyber Education Institute atau ICE Institute. Beragam mata kuliah dari perguruan tinggi terkemuka di tanah air dan mancanegara ditawarkan secara online. Perpustakaan UT sebagai salah satu unit vital di perguruan tinggi menawarkan fasilitas digital yang memungkinkan mahasiswa, dosen, tenaga kependidikan, bahkan masyarakat umum untuk mengakses sumber pustaka secara lebih leluasa. Beragam layanan yang diberikan memastikan student engagement dapat dilaksanakan dengan better, cheaper, and faster. UT pada tahun ini mengedepankan internasionalisasi program sebagai upaya menyejajarkan UT dengan perguruan tinggi jarak jauh berkualitas di dunia. Selain menawarkan program internasional, akreditasi internasional pun dilakukan. International Trust yang tinggi akan meningkatkan kredibilitas UT dan lulusannya. Public trust terhadap UT ditandai dengan terus meningkatnya jumlah mahasiswa UT dari tahun ke tahun.
Semoga keluar dari sini makin berkah hidupnya, apa yang diinginkan tercapai, dan yang pasti ilmunya bisa bermanfaat buat semuanya.
Tidak saja jumlahnya yang meningkat, komposisi mahasiswa pada saat ini didominasi oleh generasi milenial dan Gen Z. Untuk menjaga kualitas akademik, UT melibatkan BAN PT, Lembaga Akreditasi Mandiri, dan International Accreditation Bodies. Bahkan UT, satu-satunya perguruan tinggi jarak jauh di Asia yang secara sukarela dan berkala mengundang ICDE untuk mereview semua layanan di UT. Kita ingin memastikan bahwa layanan yang diberikan telah memenuhi kaidah-kaidah dan standar kualitas yang diberikan oleh perguruan tinggi jarak jauh terkemuka di dunia. Pada tahun ini, jumlah program studi yang ditawarkan berjumlah 47 yang dikelola 4 fakultas dan sekolah Pascasarjana. Kantor UT daerah yang tersebar di seluruh wilayah Indonesia dan di luar negeri memastikan layanan pendidikan dapat dinikmati oleh semua tanpa terkecuali, termasuk mereka yang tinggal di wilayah terpencil, terluar, dan tertinggal, serta di luar negeri.
Mungkin harus menunggu puluhan tahun atau ratusan tahun untuk membangun kampus di tempat ini. Puji Tuhan, dengan adanya UT, saya bisa kuliah meskipun saya tinggal di tempat yang amat terpencil seperti ini.
Tanah airku tidak kulupakan, kan terkenang selama hidupku. Biarpun saya pergi jauh, tidak akan hilang dari kalbu.
Meskipun saya TKI di Hong Kong, tetap bisa kuliah di UT. Setelah jadi sarjana, saya akan pulang dan menjadi entrepreneur yang tangguh.
Meskipun kaki ini jauh melangkah hingga kutub utara, saya tetap memilih belajar di kampus tercinta Universitas Terbuka.
UT menyalawi.
Dengan semangat 4 dasawarsa, UT hadirkan pendidikan berkualitas tanpa batas.
Engkau ku banggakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Segala Kebajikan, Rahayu, 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 kepada Bapak dan seterusnya. Sehat yang kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang sudah hadir di kegiatan International Youth Doktor dan hari ini diadakan pada tanggal 27 Agustus 2025. Baik. Sudah hadir semua Bapak dan Ibu ya. Kita akan segera mulai untuk kegiatan acara International Guest Lecture-nya. Welcome to participants sudah hadir di kegiatan ini. Yang kami hormati sudah hadir di sini ada Bapak Direktur Sekolah Pascasarjana Universitas Terbuka, Bapak Doktor Maman Rumanta M.Si. Kemudian untuk narasumber kita yang sudah hadir ada Profesor Nafsiah Mohamed, Assistant Professor at Chungbuk National University South Korea. Dan kemudian untuk nanti sebagai moderator kegiatan sudah hadir di sini ada Bapak dari Mahasiswa ya. Ini alhamdulillah bisa membantu. Mungkin teman-teman semuanya di sini sudah hafal dengan beliau atau udah kenal. Bapak Johan L. Ranteupa sudah hadir. Selamat pagi Bapak.
Pagi Pak Doni.
Pagi. Profesor Nafsiah selamat pagi. Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. This sehat ya Bu ya. Baik, kita akan mulai untuk kegiatan ini. Pertama-tama sebelum kita mulai, izin menyampaikan peraturan kegiatan ini atau Bapak dan Ibu semuanya ini diwajibkan untuk mengikuti acara sampai dengan selesai. Kemudian Bapak dan Ibu dimohon ketika berlangsung penyampaian materi oleh narasumber mematikan mikrofonnya ya, kecuali nanti saat sesi tanya jawab kepada Bapak dan Ibu semuanya, baru nanti Bapak dan Ibu kami persilakan untuk mengklik icon raise hand sebagai tanda Bapak dan Ibu memberikan pertanyaan kepada kami ya. Dan juga pada akhir acara nanti untuk Bapak dan Ibu bisa mengisi link daftar hadir sebagaimana Bapak dan Ibu yang sudah hadir semuanya di sini. Nanti kita akan berikan sertifikatnya, nanti bisa diunduh ataupun dicetak sendiri seperti itu ya Bapak dan Ibu ya. Baik, lanjut. Sekarang kita akan mendengarkan lagu Indonesia Raya Bapak dan Ibu dan himne UT. Kami persilakan Bapak dan Ibu yang hadir di kegiatan ini untuk bersikap sempurna dalam posisi duduk. Baik, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu. Now we will hear the opening and remarks and address by Director of Graduate School Universitas Terbuka kepada Bapak Profesor Doktor Maman Rumanta M.Si untuk memberikan sambutan pada pagi hari ini di kegiatan International Guest History. Kami persilakan kepada Bapak Profesor Dr. Maman Rumanta M.Si untuk memberikan sambutan. Selamat pagi, Pak Maman. Halo, Pak Maman. Baik. Masih di mute Bapak untuk suaranya?
Halo,
Ya, silakan Bapak. Sudah terdengar Pak
bisa
suaranya.
dengar ya?
Bisa.
Mohon maaf ya.
Sama-sama.
Mohon maaf.
Silakan Bapak.
Baik, suara saya kedengaran ya?
Terdengar jelas Bapak.
Oke. Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, rahayu. Yang saya hormati Profesor Nafsiah Mohamed, visiting professor from Chungbuk National University, South Korea, sebagai narasumber utama dalam kuliah umum internasional kali ini. Para pimpinan, para dosen, mahasiswa, serta hadirin yang berbahagia. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Hari ini alhamdulillah kita bisa bertemu tatap muka dalam rangka international guest lecture yang alhamdulillah dari Chungbuk National University, tapi beliau itu dari Malaysia katanya. Oleh karena itu saya tidak ragu lagi menggunakan bahasa Indonesia sebagai bahasa pengantar. Kegiatan ini Bapak Ibu sekalian diselenggarakan oleh Pascasarjana, Prodi Magister Manajemen ya, yang Bapak Ibu sekalian, ke depan memang kita ingin supaya kegiatan-kegiatan general studium atau kuliah umum internasional atau visiting lecture dan lain-lain itu akan kita selenggarakan dengan lebih banyak lagi barangkali, karena habis sekalian tahu bahwa kini Universitas Terbuka sudah lebih baik lagi, lebih maju lagi, karena kita sudah menjadi PTNBH. Teman-teman tahu bahwa konsekuensi dari PTNBH, maka kualitas itu harus kita junjung tinggi. Dan alhamdulillah sudah akreditasi unggul kan ya, kemudian DIM juga sudah unggul, dan mudah-mudahan ke depan bisa akreditasi internasional. Jadi dalam rangka itulah kita melakukan berbagai upaya supaya mahasiswa tidak hanya akreditasinya unggul gitu, tapi betul-betul kualitas pembelajarannya unggul dan lain-lain, sehingga kualitas lulusan yang akan datang akan lebih baik lagi ke depan gitu ya. Habis sekalian, hari ini temanya yaitu tentang qualitative research method gitu ya. Dan saya kira ini sangat penting bagi teman-teman, karena kualitatif riset itu memang kelihatannya mudah gitu ya, tetapi sebenarnya itu penelitian yang sangat perlukan ketelitian dan dedikasi yang tinggi, karena memang metodenya itu lahir dari si riset sendiri gitu ya. Jadi yang bertanggung jawab nanti kalau risetnya tidak punya kualitas yang baik, ya hasilnya nggak bakalan baik. Gitu ya. Jadi itu qualitative riset itu sangat penting. Nanti Bapak sekalian insya Allah akan disampaikan oleh narasumber yang saya kira sangat kompeten di bidangnya. Dan kita ingin ke depan itu memang bukan hanya kuantitatif riset, tetapi kualitatif kita dorong, karena kualitatif riset ini justru akan melahirkan teori-teori baru gitu ya. Kalau kuantitatif biasanya kan menguji metode, menguji hipotesis-hipotesis yang sudah kita bangun. Saya kira itu saja Bapak sekalian. Mohon maaf saya lagi mengikuti kegiatan sama Pak Rektor. Jadi saya mohon kegiatan ini dapat terselenggara dengan baik, dan alhamdulillah sudah menghadirkan Prof Nafsiah Mohamed, dan selamat ya. Terima kasih juga kepada para panitia yang sudah menyiapkan acara ini, dan terima kasih terutama kepada Prof. Nafsiah Mohamed yang telah menyisakan waktunya ya untuk kegiatan ini. Dan terima kasih juga para peserta yang hadir pada kesempatan ini, dan sekali lagi semoga kegiatan ini bisa memberikan wawasan yang lebih luas kepada kita terkait dengan kualitatif riset ya. Oleh karena itu saya mohon teman-teman para mahasiswa khususnya ikutilah dengan baik kegiatan ini dan dari awal sampai akhir sehingga betul-betul bisa berikan penyegaran kepada kita semua. Saya kira itu saja, Bapak Ibu sekalian. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mantap,
Thank you
saya.
very much, Profesor Maman, for the inspiring remarks. Terima kasih sudah memberikan pembukaan pada pagi hari ini untuk kegiatan internasional guest lecture-nya dan menyempatkan waktunya untuk kegiatan ini. Baik Bapak dan Ibu, we now continue to main session of today's events, the international guest lecture on quality research method. This session will be delivered by a distinction speaker, Prof. Nafsiah Mohamed from Chungbuk International South Korea, and will be moderator by Mr. Johan L. Ranteupa, ya, Master of Manajemen. Halo, mohon maaf Bapak dan Ibu untuk jaringan dari saya kayaknya terkendala. Baik, selamat pagi Pak Johan.
Pagi Pak Doni.
Kayaknya kecil ya.
Selamat pagi Pak Doni, bagaimana?
Sebentar. Oke, selamat pagi Pak Johan.
Pagi.
Terima kasih. Acara hari ini saya akan serahkan ke Pak Johan terlebih dahulu dengan Profesor Nafsiah Mohamed ya untuk quality research methodnya. Mungkin kepada Bapak mahasiswa semuanya yang sudah hadir nanti dipersilakan untuk bertanya terkait tesisnya ya Pak Johan ya.
Baik, ya.
Yang belum selesai mungkin menggunakan research method akhirnya nanti bisa terselesaikan dengan adanya kuliah umum ini. Seperti itu ya Pak Johan. Kami silakan Pak Johan, silakan. Terima kasih Pak Johan.
Pak Doni, saya ambil alih ya. Good morning everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our international gag lecture. Welcome Prof. Nafsiah. It's a great honor to have you here, Ibu. Also, to all the principals and academic team members of postgraduate School of Universitas Terbuka Indonesia, and especially my dear fellow students, participants of the international guest lecture today. Today we are going to have a very interesting subject to be delivered by Prof. Nafsiah. At least myself and most probably some of us have understood that in most research we are dealing with quantity approach. And today another perspective of quality approach or methodology will be presented by Prof. Nafsiah. But very quickly, before we go on, I would like to share Prof. Nafsiah outstanding and very long resume, but I would like to try to summarize that maybe in 5 minutes. Allow me to share the
background-nya ya, setting background sebentar.
Yeah, I hope everybody can see now my screen. So Prof. Nafsiah graduated from PhD accountancy from University of Aberdeen, and then also received award for passing with no corrections, and then master degree in accountancy and finance from University of Stirling, and bachelor and diploma degrees in accountancy from University Technology Mara. In terms of research areas, Prof. Nafsiah focused on financial reporting in local authorities, financial criminology in the public sector, including forensic accounting, fraud, and money laundering, and also governance in mosques, welfare homes, and social enterprises. Current and past appointment, I can summarize here that Prof. Nafsiah is a visiting professor at Chungbuk National University in South Korea since 2017, and Universitas Terbuka in Indonesia since 2023. Past roles include presidents of the International Center for Public Sector Governance and technical advisor to the Malaysian member of the International Public Sector Accounting Standard Board. Publication and awards. Prof. Nafsiah has written several ebooks, including series of Passing a PhD with No Correction. Also received international recognition such as Gold Medal and the Award of Excellence at the Seoul International Innovation Fair 2017 for her financial health checkup self-diagnosis kit. And then in terms of speaking engagement, Prof. Nafsiah has been a guest speaker, lecturer, or keynote speaker at numerous institutions in South Korea and Indonesia, including Seoul National University and Universitas Indonesia. Yeah, so many institutions, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's all I can summarize. I hope it's enough information initially. So without any further review, I would like to hand over the microphone to Prof. Nafsiah for a presentation about qualitative research methodology. Please welcome Prof. Nafsiah.
Thank you very much, everyone. First of all, thank you very much to Pak Johan for the long list. I think you have a longer list than me. Okay. I'm honored to be invited to Universitas Terbuka Indonesia for today's lecture. Thank you very much, Director of Postgraduate Schools, Prof. Maman Rumanta, for your support in having me today at this guest lecture. Okay. Now, without further ado, I would like to say congratulations to everyone. Okay, no matter who you are, either you are at the bachelor level or you are at PhD level, congratulations, because you are here to listen. You get to get more knowledge about qualitative research. Now, as you can see, the topic that was given to me was qualitative research. But I discovered, after going through, giving lots of lectures and discussions in Indonesia, I discovered that many, are focusing on quantitative and not qualitative. Now, the reason they gave me is that qualitative is very difficult. Qualitative is very meticulous, very tedious, and they find that qualitative is not interesting enough. Okay. Sorry to say, qualitative research is very, very interesting if you know the right spot. You know how to do it, you know what actually is required in qualitative research, then you say that once you start doing qualitative research, you will never leave it behind. Yeah. Okay then. As you can see, the topic that I gave is the first encounter with qualitative research. Now, I purposely chose this topic. As you say, when you talk about first encounter, meaning to say that it's for people who wants to know more, or not more, but they want to know about what is qualitative research. Yeah, maybe as I said again, they find that qualitative research is difficult. Okay, now qualitative research is a method inquiry. Okay, that is one that you got to remember, that it is a method of inquiry. You want to find out more about certain things. Now, when you talk about qualitative research, our focus is what? We're talking about human behavior. We talk about the human's emotions. We talk about humans' experiences. Yeah. So what we are doing in qualitative research is to find out about how do they feel about certain things. And we want to find out what are the experiences, in going through a certain phenomena. We also want to know about their behavior about certain things. Yeah. So we don't use numericals. We don't use numbers, but it is more on finding out. We inquire, we ask and ask, we observe. Yeah. And then when we want to do qualitative research, because I like to compact everything, because you can Google, and find out more about definition of qualitative research. But in qualitative research, you must be very clear about which qualitative research approach that you want to follow. What do you want to do? You can't just say, I want to do qualitative research and that's it. But you got to be very specific on what approach that you want to do, because once you have identified what approach, then you're able to say, okay, since I'm using this approach, this is the best method that I'm going to do to collect information, to help me to understand. You remember the inquiry just now? To understand the inquiry. Qualitative research is not finding solutions. Remember that. We are not looking for solutions. Yeah. We are trying to find out what happened. Why? How? Yeah. It's not finding solution. Okay. That is also a myth. Yeah. So there are 5. Okay, next. There are 5 approaches that you need to know in qualitative research. You like it or not, you have to know these 5. You talk about ethnography, nak susah, sebut pun susah, phenomenology. And then you talk about grounded theory. Many people think that when you do qualitative research, you must come out with a theory. You talk about case study, you talk about narrative inquiry. So these 5 approaches, they have different ways of methods to collect information. So you got to know, do I want to do a case study? Do I want to do ethnography? Which one? So you got to, at the beginning itself, you must be very clear about what or which approach or which paradigm that you want to choose. Okay, let's go one by one. What is ethnography? Next, please. Next. Okay, ethnography. What is it? It's an in-depth study of people and cultures through direct observation and participation. Okay, these are the 2 keywords. If you think that you want to do research and you just want to observe people, you want to observe their behavior, their habits, then ethnography approach is the best method to use. Or you want to participate. You talk about homeless, contohnya, homeless. So you want to know how these homeless people feel, when they are sleeping on the roads, on the sidewalks and so on. They got no food and so on. You want to feel it. So you choose participation. You stay there for 1 week or even for 1 month. And then you record or report whatever experiences that you have gone through. This is self, meaning to say is your own experience. So if that is the kind of research that you want to do, then you choose ethnography approach. Okay, so this is more, again, as I said, on self. Yeah, so you feel that I want to be part of them. Yeah, I want to be part of the students. I want to be part of those people demonstrating. I want to be part of, whatever. So you choose ethnography. Okay, next. Phenomenology is a phenomenon, okay? A certain event that happened. Yeah. So what you do here, you explore and understand the individual's life experience of a particular phenomenon. For example, there's an earthquake, right? So you want to know the people's feeling about what did you go through, from the beginning, before and after the earthquake, tsunami, or, flood and so on. So you want to know these people's feelings. Yeah, you want to know what they went through. So we talk about life experience. You're talking about a particular event that happened. Suddenly, when you talk about phenomenon, it is a sudden event that happened. So you want to know about that. So you use the phenomenology approach. Yeah. So when you choose this, then later I show you that this will relate to the research methods that you are going to use. And in fact, how you want to formulate your research objective. So you got to be very clear from the beginning what you want to do. Okay, next. Grounded theory. And I think this is what most people think about qualitative research. You do qualitative research, at the end, you want to come up with a theory. Okay, so what is grounded theory here? It's a method used in developing theories that are grounded in data collected from participants. So what happened is, since you are inquiring, you want to find out more about certain information and so on, and then from the data that you collected, you can come up with your own theory, grounded theory, from the data, or even an extension of your a theory that has already existed. And, that theory actually derived from the data that you collected. Yeah. So it allows theory to emerge from the data itself. To me, this is, if you're doing a master's or a PhD level, then I think it's fine. But if you're doing a research at the degree level, I think this will be not difficult, but it is very time consuming. Yeah, because you need to take lots of time to look at all the different theories that existed and how your data can fit into those theories, or if it is not, then you can build up your own theories or extension. And this is what we call grounded theory. Next, case study. Also, many people do case study. Case study, in-depth exploration. The word here is in-depth. That means you go very deep about a certain company, a certain institution. Yeah, so you choose one company. Contohnya, you want to do an in-depth study of FEB in UT. So you do a case study on that. So you're only focusing on FEB saja. So whatever that you want to do, whatever that you want to explore, that will be in formulation of the research objectives. But at the moment, my focus is FEB UT. Okay. Or you want to have a small number of cases. Yeah. So maybe what you can do is you want to compare, you want to look at not just FEB of UT, maybe FEB of other 2 or 3 other universities. Okay, meaning you are looking at each university differently. You can look at it differently, and also you can make comparison. But when you want to make comparison, you got to be very careful. You got to compare apple with apple, meaning to say, what is the issue that you are comparing? Yeah? And then you can compare. Otherwise, You can't compare. And in fact, when you talk about comparison, you also need to look at other factors like the number of students, the number of lecturers, the size and all that comes very important. Yeah. Okay. The last one, narrative inquiry. So from the word narrative, meaning you are writing, narrative is written down on the stories individuals tell about their personal experience. This is, some people say this is non-academic, but to me it doesn't matter. As long as it's qualitative, it is academic. Oh, even non-academic. Okay. Why? How can we make it into academic narrative inquiry? So what we are looking at, sometimes when you talk about an organization, so that organization, based on our findings, we discovered that since the new director or new manager leads the organization, you can see a turnaround, meaning to say that the organization suddenly, from running at a loss, it shoot up getting profits every year. So what we can do is we want to use narrative inquiry. We want to find out what happened, and then what we do is maybe we interview everyone and ask them personal things. Why do you think that this organization suddenly shoot up? Then maybe a few will say, because of the new director. And then we start to ask about what is the kind of personality that the director has and so on. And we start looking at maybe 10 people we interviewed. And then from 10, we can see that, there are 5 common things that we discovered. So that is narrative, meaning we are talking about explaining about a person, explaining about an organization, and so on, Okay, next. Okay. We finish up that, okay? So we already know that when we talk about qualitative research, we're talking about inquiry. So inquiry meaning here is you want to find out about what? About the human behavior, okay? You're talking about the emotions, the experience. So before you go further, you must really stick in your mind which approach that you want to use. Ethnographic, phenomenology, grounded theory, case study, or narrative inquiry. You have to set your mind which approach that you want to use. You cannot say, I want to do all. Don't be too ambitious, Okay, you just choose one. Okay, next, then we go to problem statement. Now, we got to have a very clear problem statement. So in qualitative research, a problem statement identifies a gap in understanding a complex issue in need of exploration or a special phenomenon requiring deeper interpretation. As you can see, a gap in understanding. When you talk about understanding, you're talking about human here. So we go back to the beginning just now, that qualitative research is inquiry about human beings. So understanding. So there is a gap. There is a gap. A says this, B says that. So there is a gap on that issue. And in problem statement, we highlight what is not yet fully known or understood and why it matters. Why it matters meaning why is so significant that you want to do that research? Why? When you talk about fraud, for instance, fraud, we have come up with all kinds of legal, legal act. We have come up with all kinds of regulations. But when you read articles, you notice that fraud still happens. So there is a gap there that we want to find out, so that gap that we are going to look into. So this has not yet fully known. And then it is very significant in that issue, Okay, next. Okay, why we need a strong problem statement? Okay, because if what I notice is that when students prepare their problem statement, the issue, what they did was they just review the literature, review literature, and then they say, oh, I want to do this, and that's it. That's their problem statement. It's not like that, you have to review literatures. Sometimes in qualitative research, reviewing literature itself is not enough. You need to do some preliminary study, basic study. Maybe you interview some personnel and so on to make sure that your problem statement is strong. Okay, so you need to confirm that the issue is underexplored. Not many people are doing it. You need to know that the phenomenon is complex or uncontested, meaning that's not has been done yet, or the existing literature lacks depth, perspective, or representation. Meaning to say, if you have this, then we can say that your problem statement is strong, and then we need to proceed on doing this research because of these strong problem statement, our research becomes significant. Okay, next, please. Okay, so from the problem statement, we goes to research objectives. Because when you have a well-defined problem statement, you ensure that your research objectives stay focused and relevant, reflect the interpretive or exploratory nature of qualitative inquiry, and the main thing is you guide the methodological design logically. And I like to use the word logically because in qualitative research, you must have a proper flow of information. It's not just cut and paste here and there. There must be some form of flow of thoughts, flow of ideas, and so on. So you see, in qualitative research, and I always tell my students, spend time, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, you really sit down and make sure to come out with a strong problem statement, not just 1 or 2 days, just go through a literature review and then that's it. No, because in qualitative research, the beginning part is very, very important because once you really capture, the significance of the problem statement, it's much, much easier for you to formulate your research objective. So this is my problem statement. From here, you are going to formulate a research objective which must be aligned with the problem statement. And when you have a clear research objective, then you can be very sure that you know which methods to be used. Okay, next. Okay, so a clearly defined research problem not only justifies the need for the research, but also shapes the development of research questions and objectives. That was what I said just now. When you have a strong problem statement, then to formulate the research objective would be very much simpler. Okay, next. Okay, so we talk about formulating a clear research problem and well-defined objectives, sets the foundation for the entire study and ensures that the research remains focused, relevant, and meaningful. So what I can say here is that when you want to do qualitative research, 2 things you must have before you start. You must have a very clear problem statement, and from the problem statement, you formulate your research objectives, which must be in line with your problem statement. Once you got that clear, it's like 50% completed. Because you must have a very clear mind of what you want to do. Because many of my students, I'm not talking about other students, I'm talking about my students, when they come to see me, they're not sure what they want to do. So in qualitative research, if you're not sure what you want to do, then definitely you will find it's hard time. So that's why people say it's very difficult to do qualitative research. No, it's not difficult, but it's you who must set in your mind that problem statement and research objective is very, very important. I'm not saying that it's not important in quantitative, but in qualitative, you really got to focus these 2 before you take off, doing your research. Okay, next. Research objectives. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay, next. Okay, significance of research objective. And I think it covers for all research, yeah? The research remains aligned with the central purpose. So you have what is your aim there that you want to achieve. And then when you formulate your research objective, it must be aligned with your central purpose, your main aim there, and provide direction for data collection, analysis, interpretation, and so on. Yeah, so it is very important. Okay, next. Okay, so a clear articulation of these objectives helps determine which methods will be most effective in generating rich, meaningful data. Okay, if you read, yeah, any textbook or you read any articles in qualitative, they like to use the word rich, yeah, kaya, a lot of data. Because that is what we are going to do. We are going to collect as much data as possible, as deep as possible, and then we are going to use that in order for us to achieve our objectives. And as you can see, research objectives serves as the backbone of qualitative inquiry. If you don't have backbone, and how are you going to stand up and walk? Yeah. So that is how important research objective. So students, you got to be very clear that your research objectives must be very clear. Next. Right. Now, when you're doing a research objective, yeah, you want to formulate research objectives, which verb are we going to use? You want to explore, you want to understand, you want to measure, you want to evaluate. This is something that many students are, should I say, not aware of. Yeah. Okay. So what I've listed here are the what do we call that? The verbs that you can use when you want to carry out a qualitative research. Okay. Next. Okay, so these are the what do you call that? Okay. Let me see. Okay, these are the common verbs. Right? There are more than that. Yeah. So I'm just giving you 10 because I think for your degree, masters, and if you have PhD, I think this is quite enough. Yeah. So either you say you want to explore, you want to understand, you want to describe, and so on. Yeah. Describe, interpret, examine, analyze, highlight, gain insight into, investigate, identify. You can use all these verbs. Now, if you use in your research objectives, now if I don't look at your title, I don't look at your research problem, I just look at your research objectives, and you use these verbs. So from these verbs, I can predict that you are doing a qualitative research because all these verbs actually explain, okay, about the inquiry, because we want to explore, we want to inquire, we want to understand, we want to inquire, we want to interpret, we want to describe. These are all inquiries. Yeah. So from these verbs itself, you can understand that, oh, this is a qualitative research. Yeah. Okay. Next. Next, please. I'm just giving you examples. Okay. So for instance, you use the word explore. Okay. When do you want to use the word explore? You want to investigate an issue, experience, or phenomenon in depth. Okay. For example, to explore how patients experience telehealth services. So they want to explore. The word understand. When to use it? You want to gain insight into experiences, emotions, or perception. You want to understand that. So, example, to understand the coping strategies of caregivers. You want to understand how they cope, their feelings. Yeah. And describe, when to use it. When you describe, you want to document the detailed accounts of behaviors, events or settings. An example, to describe the daily routines of street vendors, the hawkers, yeah, in urban areas. So you want to describe, meaning to say from morning until evening, what do they do? So you describe, okay? Or even you want to say, you want to describe your daily routine as a lecturer. So what do you do from morning until evening? So you are describing, so you document it. So you have your journal, I say at 6 a.m., what do I do? 7 a.m., what do I do? 8, 9, and so on. So you are describing what is happening. Okay. So it is very important that you use the right verb when you use qualitative research. Okay. Next. Verbs to avoid. Yeah, because I discovered also students using the word, these 6 main verbs: measure, prove, evaluate, test, determine, correlate. Okay. If you use this is for quantitative research. Okay. In qualitative, we don't measure. There's no number. Because when you talk about measure, you talk about numbers. There's some form of numerical data involved, which we do not know. You want to prove something. We are not proving something. We are not coming up with solution. We just want to know why it happened, how it happened. That's all. Yeah. You're not evaluating. You're not testing. You do not want to determine things and also correlate, the between what happened. Yeah. So avoid using these verbs when you use qualitative research. Okay. Next. Okay, now remember at the beginning we talk about qualitative research approaches, yeah? So there are 5, you will say remember. So when you identify now, if you want to use ethnography, for instance, yeah? So the verbs that you use in your research objective normally would be to describe, to examine, to understand. Yeah? That actually will be aligned with your qualitative research approach. Phenomenology, for instance, okay, the verb that is best used will be to understand what is happening, because phenomenon, okay, things that happen, you want to know, understand what happened. You want to explore further. You want to describe how things happen. You want to uncover, is there any loopholes here and there? Okay, so based on these 5 qualitative approach, you choose one that you want to do, and then from there you're able to know which verb that you use in order to formulate your research objective. Because sometimes you say, when you see students will come up with all kinds of verbs, yeah, but when you look at their their methodology, or in fact when you look at their data analysis, it doesn't reflect their objective, because the objective and their findings is totally different. Okay, so sometimes I ask, especially when I become an external examiner. So for instance, I say, do you want to describe or you want to do something else? Yeah. So you got to align. So if you are very clear from the beginning what qualitative approach that you want to use, so these are the recommended or the best practice, people using on which verbs to use in the qualitative approach that you used. Okay, next. Okay, so done with that. Okay, now for the purpose of this lecture, because this is the beginning, what should I say, the first encounter on qualitative research, I'm not going to go into detail, because I think that needs another lecture, but I'm just sharing with you the flow. If you are doing a qualitative research, these are the things that you must know first. Okay, let's go to research methods. So in qualitative research, there is no one size fits all method. Meaning to say, if I use this, I must use this method. If I use this, I must use this method. No. That is the beauty of qualitative research. Yeah. So you can use whatever methods that fits into what you want. That is where your research objective is important. The usage of the verb is important because the usage of the verb, whether you describe, investigate, you explore, will then will direct you to the research methods that you are going to do. Yeah. So the selection of research methods must be closely guided by the specific objective of the study. Okay. Understanding the type of inquiry enables researchers to choose the most appropriate tools for data collection and analysis. So the type of inquiry, the type of research, qualitative approach that you use will really help you, will really, should I say, fasten, mempercepatkan proses in doing your qualitative research. Okay, next. Right. So I'm giving you just 4 key research methods here that people normally do in a qualitative research. That is interviews, focus group discussions, observations, and documents and visuals. Okay. If you go up to PhD level, there are some more complex methods that they use, which I'm not going to touch here. Yeah. Okay. Next. So when we talk about interviews, there are 3 types of interviews that you can use: structured, semi-structured, unstructured. So what is structured? Structured meaning to say you design your own questionnaire. Maybe you have like 10 questions, right? So these 10 questions you use to question maybe 5 different people, 10 different people, but you are using the same questions. They are structured. Okay. The purpose is you want to find out, okay, whether these things are happening. You already know that these things are happening, right? So that's why you come up with the questions. Okay. It's not questionnaire, it's questions. Yeah. So you have these questions and you want to find out from 5, 10, 15 people whether they experience the same thing that is based on the 10 questions. So everything is structured there. Now, semi-structured, okay, you have all the questions, but at the same time, when they answer your questions, you probe and say, and then, like they say, yes, okay, I think misappropriation of assets do happen in this organization, for example, yeah. And then when you get that answer from there, you feel, this is my time, to ask further question. So you ask. So when you talk about you know that there is misappropriation of asset happening in an organization. Now, what do you do about it? Then you start to probe. That is where we say semi-structured. You already have all the structured questions, but when they answer you back, there are certain issues that they highlighted, which it was, you did not intend to ask that, but it came out during the interview. So you ask them, for further understanding of the issue. Okay, that is semi-structured, sorry. Unstructured, well, you don't have any questions, but you have in your mind that you want to ask them certain questions. Yeah. So you just go interview maybe 2 or 3 people, and then you just ask them, about what do you want, what kind of information that you want. It is not structured, it's not semi-structured, but it can be anything under the sun. But it all depends on what you want, what information that you want. Then those will be the questions that you'll be asking them. Okay. So the interview, you have structured, you prepare ready the question. Semi-structured, you prepare, but at the same time, you can ask questions. And number 3 will be unstructured, no questions prepared, but you have in mind what kind of questions that you want to ask. Okay, next. Okay. Next. Okay. Focus group discussion. I think lately for the past 2-3 years, this has become very popular Yeah, people start doing focus group discussions where you have a group of people, 4 to 8, because if you have too many, then it is no longer a discussion. Yeah, so people will be wasting time talking, not discussing. So normally focus group will be very small group of people who discuss. So you have a facilitator. A facilitator normally will be someone who is an expert in the area, or it can be yourself. You are doing the research, so you can be the facilitator. Someone who is very, very, should I say, knowledgeable about that particular area, so becomes a facilitator. So what happens is let's say you have 5 people in the group, and then you ask one question. Yeah? You ask one question, and these 5, you can do either you ask each of them the same question or open up. So anyone can answer that question. And then you start, the ball rolling and continue asking questions. And, there must be, if you use this, you need to have a tape recorder, because, when people start talking, and then when you have 2 or 3 people start talking, then it's a headache, right? So you have to have a tape recorder to record the discussion. So they will discuss the issue. These 5 people will discuss based on the question asked. And as the facilitator, you are also the moderator. Yeah, sometimes the group become very heated up, yeah, and then they start quarreling and so on. So you got to be very, very careful when you're doing a research, because when you talk about qualitative, it can be topics from anything to political issues. Yeah, so the facilitator got to be very, very, should I say, have a strong mind. Yeah. Mentally prepared for all this. Okay. So here the goal is to explore shared experiences, diverse perspective, and group dynamics. So that is how you get information. You have a facilitator, or the facilitator becomes a moderator also, and then you have a group of people. From this group of people, they will discuss, the questions asked by the moderator, and then it will be recorded normally, and then at the end, okay, once it's done, then it will be transcribed and so on. So that is another issue, but more on the focus group, because the word focus, maybe you're only focusing on certain issues, okay, and no others, okay? Right, next. Observations. What you do is you observe. You call it participation, participant observations, or non-participant observations. Okay. Now, what is participant observation? Meaning, you observe. I mean, for instance, we have a group of people in this class. So the researcher will sit in the class and just observe what's happening. Or you have a meeting, so you want to know what's happening in the meeting. All right. So you just sit down. And then this is participant, meaning to say you be in the meeting, and then you observe, and you also participate, meaning you can ask questions, observe, and you can also ask questions. Non-participant, you just sit down and watch and observe. Okay, how many times this person keep going out from the meeting room? How many times, this person keep on asking irrelevant questions and things like that? You observe and record. Okay, so observation. But normally in qualitative research, observation doesn't come like one method. It always come with like interviews and observation, focus group and observation, because observation itself is not strong enough. Yeah, people will query about the reliability and validity of the data that you get from observation. Yeah, so you need to have another method also, for collecting of data. Okay, next. Okay, documents and visual. So you're talking about documentations. To me, when you are doing this qualitative research, especially at the lower level, meaning at the degree level, documents and visual is the best methods of qualitative research, because what you do is you collect data. Okay, I'll give you an example. For instance, you want to look at disclosure of information. Okay, disclosure of information in the annual report. So you want to find out, okay, all these companies, yeah, how many times they use the word sustainability. So you look at company A, you count how many times they use. You know, a company B. So the more words they use, the word sustainability, meaning to say that to that particular company, sustainability is very important because they keep stressing it throughout the annual report. Yeah, something like that. I mean, like you analyze it. Okay, so you try to find out a theme. You use the thematic analysis to look at what are the common things that are being disclosed in the annual report. So documents, important, visuals, anything. Yeah, anything that you can look at and then you can analyze it. Okay, so these are 4 research methods commonly used, okay, in doing qualitative research: interview, focus group discussions, observations, and also documents and visuals. Okay, next. Data analysis. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into detailed data analysis, but I'm just to explain to you the importance of data analysis here. Okay. So in qualitative research, once you have collected all the data, then you're going to analyze it. Now, you're going to analyze it systematically. For instance, if you use interviews, then you're going to transcribe the interviews, some coding and so on. And it goes back to what is the objective of your research, yeah? Then from there you extract. So maybe you want to know how many times the words are being used, or what is happening, and so on. So you analyze. So you can analyze manually. Yeah, maknanya you count, or you do it manually. Or now they have NVivo and all kinds of software that you can use. You put the input in there, the data, and whatever you want, you just come out as the output, and from there you can infer, yeah, or decide, not decide, but you can sort of come up with some form of answer to whatever that you want to that you are looking for. Yeah. Okay, so here it says, and make meaning from non-numerical information, because in qualitative, as you know from the beginning, that there's no numbers involved. Yeah, numbers in the sense that we are not calculating, we're not looking at, but sometimes we do use numbers, like we look at frequency, how many times it happens. Very simple analysis, like frequency, for instance. But we don't use statistical analysis and so on for qualitative data. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay. This is the issue. Many people say that when you do qualitative, how do you know it is reliable or not? How do you know the data is right? You go interview. Now, how do you know that that person is telling the truth? How I tell you, if that is what we have in mind, okay, nobody will be doing qualitative research. Yeah. So here we talk about trustworthiness, kepercayaan, yeah, the trust there. So again, yeah, this is common. Yeah, people say that it's too subjective. Okay. So what we do is, researchers will focus on this. We talk about trustworthiness. We need to show to the reader, or examiner, whoever they are, that research is reliable, that research is valid. Okay, next. Okay, so here we talk about trustworthiness serves as the overarching framework that encompasses the concepts of reliability and validity. Okay, adapted to fit the interpretive and contextual nature of qualitative inquiry. Okay, next. Next, please. Okay, so we talk about reliability. So when you talk about reliability in qualitative, not in quantitative, we are talking about reliability in qualitative refers to the consistency and dependability of the data collection and analysis process. Yeah, ensuring that the data collection and analysis are conducted systematically and can be traced or replicated by others. So, meaning to say, when you use qualitative research, from the start of your research or your data collection, you must record everything. Okay, you cannot miss. Meaning to say, you go interview. Who did you interview? Managers. How many of them? You know, and then when did you go there? You know, and then the time. How many hours you interviewed them? 2 hours, 1 hour, 2 all that you got to record, and it must be disclosed in your findings. Yeah, in your findings. Because that is your proof. That is the evidence showing that I did this. When I did the research, I start from the beginning. So I chose the managers. Why you choose the managers? You must answer that. I chose employees who have grade 6, grade 7 only. Why? So when you decide who are the people that you want to interview, there must be why behind it. So because what we want is, we want to tell the reader that the data that we collected are reliable. Okay, so we always have the why there, the reason why you choose that. Okay, now next, validity. Valid or not. So when we talk about validity in qualitative, normally we don't use just one method. As I said just now, you just use interviews throughout. Yeah. So to support your findings from interviews, then you use what we call the another method. Yeah, to support it. Yeah. So what happened here, we call in qualitative research is triangulation. Yeah, triangulation, meaning to say, in triangulation you have methodological triangulation and data triangulation. Method, meaning to say, you use interviews and focus group. So you interviewed first. Based on the result of the interview, you want to support it. So you do a focus group discussions, and then you look at the answers. Are they in line, or there's some fishy result? And if you're not happy, then you need to conduct another method. Okay, based on the agreement, because when you decide which method is already from the beginning, right? Okay. Now, when you talk about data triangulation, what happened is, you ask the question, you ask the same question to the managers, to the operational people, and also to the lower level. 3 different. So you will get data. You're using the data and look at the data. Okay. Just now we are talking about methods, interviews, and then we talk about focus group, and then we're talking about observation. So we are using different methods. Okay, to convince the reader that our data is valid. Or you use same questions, but your target people are different. Yeah. So you have the higher level, middle level, and lower level, and this is called data triangulation, because you want to convince that, hey, I've done not just one, but I've done 2 methods, yeah, to convince you that my findings is valid. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so that is why I already explained about triangulation. Okay, next. Okay, is allow researchers to cross-check. That's why I said there is methodological triangulation and data triangulation. Okay, next. Okay, right? So it's quite simple. From the beginning, I just want to summarize a little bit. From the beginning, you must know, okay, which approach that you want to use. The 5 approach that I mentioned earlier. From this 5 approach, okay, I want to do this. Next step is identify what is your issue, what is your problem that you want to carry out. And then from this problem statement, you formulate your research objectives. Okay, it is very important. At this stage, it will take you some time, maybe longer. It's okay, but you got to be very clear about what you want to do, right? So from there, you look at your problem statement and then your research objectives. Okay, so want everything there in line, then you know that which research methods that you want to follow. Okay, so either you want to interview, you want to observe, focus group, or you will want to use documents only. Right? So when you do your analysis, okay, again, I just want to remind you that when you talk about qualitative research, okay, we don't only use one method. Okay, we combine the method which we call triangulation. Why we use triangulation? Because we want to make sure that the data that we get is reliable and valid. Yeah. Okay then. Okay. Next. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, that's the end. So that's the end. Okay, very simple on for especially those who have not conducted a qualitative research, who wants to do qualitative research. Is very, very, to me, qualitative research is something beautiful because you are exploring, you want to find out more about certain things, right? That if you don't do qualitative research, you wouldn't know, right? So maybe, you try. Okay, for those who have not tried, maybe you can try based on this. Okay, now if you, can I go to the first slide, please? Okay, the beginning, the cover. Okay, so as you see the cover, there's the first encounter with qualitative research. Okay, no, that's a book that I've just written because there's a lot of books in the market that talks about qualitative research, but the books actually is so dense. Ya, terlampau banyak sangat maklumat yang that you got to read a lot on that. So what I'm trying to do, I use the word first encounter here, is to for people who wants to know more. Maybe you do not want to do research on qualitative, but you want to know about what is this qualitative research? So the terms we use, what we do normally. So I put it here. So for those who are here, so the book is here. Okay, you can purchase it because it will be published next week. Yeah, the next week. So anyone wants to have it, you want to know further about this, because some of the things that I highlighted here also came from this book. You can purchase it, and then you can get in touch with FEB, because they are the one who handles it. And then, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So if you have any questions, then yeah, go ahead. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Nafsiah. It's a very great, insightful presentation. Now, participants, we come to the question and answer sessions. I have seen 3 questions in the chat box. And then
still got time.
Yeah. And later on, if some of you want to do interactive questions, please raise your hands or just open your microphone. But before we go to the 3 questions on the chat box, I personally want to ask a question, Prof. Nafsiah. So as a student of Magister Management program, one of the conditions that officially stated by the campus, I mean the Faculty of Postgraduate, that we have to write a scientific research thesis, something like that. So is it okay if I can say that quantity research is only the database, but then the analysis can be focused on qualitative approaches. Yeah, thank you, Prof.
Sorry, because they just increase the volume because I couldn't hear your voice just now. Sorry, can you repeat?
Okay, all right. Yeah, I tried to ask the questions again. So, as a students of postgraduate schools, especially in master degree of management, one of the conditions that I know is officially stated by the school is that we have to write a thesis, scientific thesis, and is it okay if I can say that quantity methods is the basis of the data collection only, but then we can do quality research to develop our thesis? Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, they're still adjusting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, I think the word scientific doesn't only refer to quantitative. Yeah, because scientific here is more on academic research. Yeah, so it can be quantitative or qualitative. Okay, that is my understanding. Okay, when you talk about scientific, because when you talk about scientific, you can hear me now because there's echo. Is my voice clear?
Yes, Prof. Please.
Okay. Sorry. Because over here, my voice echo. Yeah. All right. So when we talk about scientific, here you are talking about a systematic way of doing research. So the meaning to say you must have a systematic way, meaning either you use quantitative or qualitative, but your research must be done systematically, meaning you've got to start from your problem statement to your research objective, then you have your data, methods, and so on. So this is what we call the scientific research. It is done systematically. It's not that it only refers to quantitative. That is my understanding, and that is what I've discussed with many professors that I met. And we talked about, I think many universities use the word scientific research, but it refers to both. Okay.
Okay, very well noted, Prof. Thank you. Let me read some of the questions in the chat box here. First one is from Pak Renaldi Bayu Permana. Thank you, Professor Nafsiah, for the insightful presentation. I have two questions. First, how can we contextualize research so that it does not stop at simply labeling by country, but instead highlights its unique characteristic and cross-societal relevance? Secondly, it's quite long questions. In qualitative research, reflexivity is the key for validity, but how can we distinguish meaningful interpretation from personal bias? Have also read work in critical perspective on accounting that emphasize critical approaches such as narrative studies or phenomenology, and in financial economics, which is strongly tied to mathematical and quantitative methods. Can qualitative approaches be epistemologically positioned along positive quantitative research? Still one more paragraph. More specifically, is it methodologically valid to frame causality through narrative, for instance, when addressing endogeneity, rather than relying solely on variables? In other words, must financial research always be bound to quantitative approaches? And lastly, what is your view on the role of artificial intelligence in qualitative research? Yeah, it's a quite long question. Prof, can you also read?
Yeah, I try to get the gist of it. It's just that the question one, I was lost on the way. Can you read question 1 again?
How can we contextualize research so that it does not stop at simply labeling by country, but instead highlights its unique characteristic and cross-societal relevance?
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting questions. I'm sure either the person here is doing might be doing a PhD, right? Okay, now I go straight to the point.
Yeah. The microphone is mute, Prof. Prof, it seems your microphone is muted.
Okay.
All right, okay.
So to me, you see, when you start doing your problem statement, and then you have you see before you come up with your research methods, yeah. Okay. In qualitative research, you must have a frame, which we call the framework. The framework will determine the scope of what you want to cover, right? So this framework can be a theoretical framework that you decide at the beginning that, I want to use this approach to explain my findings later on. So you already set in your mind, that, okay, I'm going to use this particular approach. For instance, okay, the one that I normally use, the Luder's contingency model. So that is the frame that I start from the beginning, that I want to use this. After I've gone through the looking at the literature review and so on, and a lot of reading, then I find that, okay, this is what I want to find out. And what I want to find out, I realized that Luder's contingency model, okay, will help me, as a scope for me to proceed. So that is where you start your coming out with your research objectives, and then you start looking at research methods, and the frame is still there. Yeah, the frame is still there. And then when you want to use interviews, for instance, you already know what you want to, questions that you want to ask, because you already have a certain frame from the beginning and that you want to find out. Okay, so it doesn't matter, whether you're doing just one country or you're looking at many countries. It all depends on what you want to achieve. Yeah, what you want to achieve. And here, when you talk about qualitative research, when you say different countries and so on, there are certain things that we need to look into. Now, are we saying that, okay, we are looking Indonesia, Malaysia, we cannot compare Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore because of the size? But you can compare in terms of the issues that we are talking about. We are talking about the articles that people are talking about these three countries. Yeah, so we can say, these three issues are happening in all these three countries. Okay? So to me, because you already have a framework at the beginning. Yeah, to explain that. Yeah, so to me, in qualitative research, you don't have to label a certain country, a certain institution, or certain because it all goes back to what you want to find out, what actually that you want to know, what kind of information that you want. That is important. Yeah, and then from there, you yourself would design what kind of methods that you want to achieve. Okay, and then you're talking about the data that we collect, to can we avoid bias and so on? Definitely we can. Okay, just because quantitative, use data, they come out with all these statistical tests and so on, and you say that, it's proven. So you accept, you reject, and so on. Okay, so, but qualitative because it is very narrative. It comes from emotion. You come from describing, and we find that, hey, can we trust this data? Of course we can. Of course we can trust this data. Okay, because that is what we want. Okay, so we need to know what actually that we want to explore. Right? And as I said just now, when we want to explore to avoid this bias, okay, you don't just use one method. Okay, you use different methods. You can use interview, at the same time you use focus group, at the same time you use observation, and at the same time you use documents, right? And you do all this because why? People feel that qualitative research, is very biased. So we prove to you that when you use all these 4 methods, it comes to the same thing, right? So I'm a qualitative person. My students, my PhD students, are doing qualitative research, right? And for your information, when I did my PhD, I passed my PhD with no correction. And I got 2 students under me, my 2 students who did qualitative research. Both of them also passed with no correction. And their external examiners are from UK and Australia. Okay? So meaning to say that we can do it. Yeah? We can do it. And I also have PhD students from Indonesia, who passed with minor corrections. They're doing qualitative research. And this is what I've been sharing with everyone, that the first thing is people will question that, the biasness. So in order to avoid this biasness, we got to do something. My supervisor used to say, the less questions people or the reader or examiner asks you, the better will be your research. So avoid people asking you all these kind of questions. So when you do your analysis, make sure that avoid all this biasness and come out with methods that convince people that my findings is valid, my findings is reliable. So if we have this set of mind that qualitative is not trustworthy, qualitative will should I say there's all this biasness in qualitative, and I think you should change this stigma. It's a myth, So you got to change that, because there's so many people around the world are now moving from quantitative to qualitative. You can Google, you can go anywhere. In fact, when I'm in Korea, because I'm a visiting professor there, okay, I also, help them with their research, their PhD, their masters, and so on. And most of them are doing qualitative research because they felt that they need more information. They need in-depth information about certain phenomena, certain issue that is happening. So I'm just sharing with you that the world now are all moving towards qualitative research, and I'm very, very happy about that. Thank you. Yeah, Pak Johan, I'm done with that.
Thank you, Prof. Nafsiah. One more concern that Pak Rinaldi wants to emphasize here is related to financial research. How about qualitative approach related to these concerns? Because
sorry again.
Yeah, financial research is another thing that Pak Rinaldi wants to discuss here. Whether quantitative research can be, let's say, ignore, should I say, or avoid, and then change to qualitative approach for financial research, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, when you talk about financial, there's many ways that you can look at. So either you're looking at the numbers. Okay, fine, and it goes back to what actually that you want to look at, yeah? So in quantitative, you're just looking at the numbers per se, right? But in qualitative, we are not just looking through the numbers, yeah? What the numbers also means a lot to us. Okay, so for instance, we do a trend analysis. Yeah, we do a trend analysis of the financial statement. Maybe you look at the income statement, or you look at the balance sheet. Now people don't call it, but never mind, I call it balance sheet. And then you do a trend analysis, and then you can see the movement. Again, the movement of what do you call that? Of the fixed asset, you know, the non-current asset, the loans and things like that. You know, the movements when you do the trend analysis. And as a qualitative researcher, what I'll do is I will look at, you know, the trend. Okay, where, for instance, when you talk about fixed asset, for instance, right? So suddenly we look at. What we look at is significant events, yeah? Suddenly you see there's an sudden increase on fixed asset. So that is where, once you have done the what do you call that? The trend analysis, look at significant events, okay? Then from the significant events, then you start questioning. Why? Is there a specific event that happened that made the fixed asset shoot up, or is it because a change of board of directors, or is it a change of policy, or is it, you know, you are using the financial data, but you are explaining in qualitatively you are explaining it, yeah. That is one, and then there's also a lot of what we call for sustainability purposes, yeah. Is that the word? As I mentioned, the word sustainability, because that can indicate, okay, because there are studies that says that the more words you use in the annual report, or it indicates that there is importance in that. So you start counting. Yeah, accounting, okay. And then you also can look at the trend analysis again. You look at the profits or losses, yeah. And then we are not looking at the percentage of increase. Yeah, we are looking at the significant event. What happened actually? Why suddenly the from profit from 10 million it goes down to 1 million? What happened during that period? That is the work of a qualitative researcher that would inquire what actually happened. Yeah, and then that is where you use interviews. Yeah, you use what do you call that? A focus group, and you know you want to find out is this a trend that is happening? You know, at this particular time, as you know, during COVID, for instance. Okay, you do because of COVID, things happen and so on. Yeah, so there's no worries about financial research that you want to do, because there's a lot of research out there who use financial data, but you explain it using qualitative research methods approach to explain what is happening to those data. Okay?
All right, thank you, Prof. Maybe I can give a very simple example to this financial research. Let's say 9 out of 10 people are paying their bills using credit cards. That is quantitative approach. The qualitative analysis, in my opinion, is that probably people need security by carrying cash in their pockets. I hope that's an example that can relate to this explanation.
Yeah. Or you can say, why 9 people? What happened to the 1? You know, sometimes we don't question the 9 people who pays, right, using credit card. We also ask the 1 person who did not pay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is qualitative. You know,
right. Yeah.
because for instance, yeah, I'm just sharing with you structured research. Yeah, my master's students did was. You know, we talk about misappropriation of assets. Okay, now the question is, do you use the company's vehicle to do private things, meaning to say you want to go to the market, you use the company's vehicle. Okay, so the answer is either yes or no. Right? And then the next question is, do you know that this is wrong? I mean, it's illegal, meaning you cannot use that for personal use. So the answer is yes or no. So what happened is we realized that 80% says yes, meaning they know that it's wrong. 20% doesn't know. But many people will then go for 80%. But to me, I said to my student, no, not 80%. What we are concerned is the 20%. How come they didn't know about it? How come they didn't know that that is illegal? So that 20%, we go in depth and find out why this 20% did not know that doing that is illegal. So this is qualitative research. It is interesting.
All right, thank you, Prof. One more thing from Parinaldi. What do you think about artificial intelligence in terms of qualitative research, please?
Artificial intelligence. AI is just a method. Okay, it's just a tool. Okay, it's just helping you to analyze things. You give them data, they will digest, and then they come out with output. But at the end of the day, it's you as a researcher. You want what? You want it to be quantitative, then you be quantitative. But if you want it to be qualitative, you want to answer it qualitatively, then you be qualitatively. It doesn't mean when you have AI, then we cannot do qualitative research. AI is just a medium. It's just a tool to assist you, okay, in doing things, right? So to me, it's not a problem. Okay, it's not a problem at all. In fact, it sometimes help us in doing things faster. Okay?
Yeah, I agree. As long as we give the proper information to AI, they will give us the right feedback as well. Okay, Prof. Next, we go on to the question from Stephanie Made Ayu, Ibu Stephanie. Prof. Nafsiah, I have questions. Number one, how does ethnography fit within the broader landscape of qualitative research? And then number two, can insights from ethnographic data be considered deep enough to capture the richness usually expected in qualitative studies? Thank you.
Ethnography, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Ethnography.
Ethnography. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Again, okay, as I said earlier, in ethnography, you want to know in depth. You want to go inside, yeah, and find out more about the human emotion. You talk about the human behavior and things like that. Yeah? So, and you see, when we decide to do a qualitative research, okay, and we say that, okay, I want to do this approach, okay, ethnography approach. So you already know that, if you want to use ethnography, so you know already what you want to find out, you want to describe and things like that. So to me, there's no issue at all here. Okay, there's no issue whether whatever data that is sufficient or not, whether the data is valid or not, or whether you can use qualitative research to do a research on ethnography or not. It is proven. Okay, it is proven throughout the world, right, that these are the 5 approaches. Either you want to use ethnography alone as your research method, or you want to combine with phenomenology. It's up to you, but it is proven throughout the world that you can choose one. That's why I keep on highlighting just now that when you choose one research approach, from the beginning, right, when you choose it, then that would your research objectives will be aligned with your research approach. You see? So there's no such thing that whether you be accepted or not, whether it's very, no. Because from the beginning, you choose this. This is what I want. Yeah? From here, I come out with the problem statement. So, for instance, like ethnographic, maybe it is suitable for what? For tourism, maybe for education, specific groups who are interested, to look into matters further, in depth. And then when they use the research method, so maybe they use observation, maybe they use interviews. Okay, maybe they don't use focus group, but it's more interviews and observation. So they use that and they collect the data, right? They collect the data because I think you see I understand what our student or lecturer is asking is that. This is the perception that people have, which is a normal question to me. That how can you measure people's behavior? How can you evaluate people's feelings and so on? So again, I'm saying that we are not measuring, we are not evaluating, we are exploring. Okay, we want to find out. Okay, now for instance, when you say that the person is sad. How do you measure? You cannot measure sadness, but you can describe that, from what happened, the way you write, from what happened, for instance, the tsunami and so on, the mother who lost a child has been crying non-stop, has not been eating. That is the feeling. These are the things that we are describing. That is qualitative research. Now, when I say qualitative research, it's not just on financial matters. You got economy, management, you talk about tourism, you talk about, all kinds of things. Yeah. So you're describing. It's you who decide what you want. It's not what people think. We always think that, when we use this, people think that, no, it's what you want. And you got to believe in yourself that what you are doing is valid. What you are doing is reliable. What you are doing is significant to the world. That is your contribution. Okay? If you don't do that research, you wouldn't know that the mother has been crying non-stop. If you don't do the research, you wouldn't know, and the world wouldn't know that the mother has not been eating for 1 week. You wouldn't know that, they lost their houses and so on if you don't do the research and you describe in the research. This is qualitative research that is not found in quantitative. Okay? So it's you who determine it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, I think Ibu Stefani highlights on the NFI, which is the character people line using internet and so on. Well, basically the approach is still the same. It's all on us as it is to conclusion. Okay, we go on next to the next question from I ask, is it and when it has changed from quantitative?
Sorry, Pak Johan, the line here is not so good.
Okay.
Your voice is not heard. Sorry.
Yeah, it's breaking up. Okay, let me repeat. From Ibu or Bapak Justinus, Bapak, I think. Good morning, Professor. May I ask, is it permissible, or maybe permission, and when can a research change from quantitative to qualitative methods? Is the assumption that qualitative research is more difficult? Thank you.
Let me get this right. She's asking, when is it? When can a quantitative change
to
qualitative?
Yes.
I'm not very sure about the question, but let me just assume. Assume. No, when you say you want to change from quantitative to qualitative, I'm not really sure about why you need a change there, right? Why you need a change from quantitative to qualitative. Because if you start doing quantitative, then you proceed doing quantitative. But if you do qualitative, then you do qualitative towards, yeah. So maybe my second assumption is that she wants to know whether all this while she's being quantitative. Now, when can she start doing qualitative? This is my second assumption. So my first assumption means to say that, okay, once you do whatever research method you use, either qualitative, proceed, quantitative, proceed. So the next you say change. So meaning to say, all this while you'll be doing quantitative. You don't have to change. It's up to you which method you want to use. If you have not done a qualitative research, then maybe you can try doing qualitative research. There's no term saying that when can I change, from quantitative to qualitative. There's no such thing happening. There's no change of methods there. Right? So from the beginning you use that, and then you continue until the end. So that is my assumption is that you did halfway, and then maybe you want to use qualitative after that. But another method that people are doing is what we call mixed method. Yeah, mixed method. Okay? So where you use both quantitative and qualitative. But to me, if you are doing a degree, in fact, even masters, I don't advise you to do mixed method, because mixed method is a bit tricky. Okay, if you are doing a PhD level, then it's fine. But if you are doing a master's or you are doing a degree research, avoid using mixed method. Yeah, because mixed method. This one because we talk about change, so I just include there. So when you say mixed method, so you are using quantitative and you're using qualitative to support. Okay, so meaning to say you do qualitative research first. You carry out the research and so on until you find the answer. And then to support your answer, to support your answer, you carry out a qualitative research. Okay, and also the other way around. You do a qualitative research and you get the answer. To support it, you use a quantitative research. Right? But a mixed method, you must remember that you must identify it from the beginning. Meaning to say, from the beginning, you say, I'm using a research mixed method, and I'm using quantitative and supported by qualitative, or qualitative support by mixed method. You cannot I'm using quantitative, you carry out, and then after you have found out the result, and then suddenly you want to use qualitative to support your answer. No, this one will be wrong. Yeah, it is wrong because you already change you put your research method, which in research, if you do it academically, then definitely this is wrong. You fail. Yeah, definitely you fail, because a research method should be from the beginning. So that can be done, but not changing. But you can use both methods, research and qualitative and quantitative, or quantitative, qualitative. But you must state it from the beginning that you are using these two methods. And another thing that you must remember is that when you use mixed method, right? Your answer, because you state it in the beginning that you're using mixed method, so your findings, what I'm saying is that if you only do quantitative, okay, you do not do qualitative, then your findings is incomplete. Yeah, incomplete. Because from the beginning you say, I'm going to use mixed method, but then along the way you just stop at quantitative, and both of them, they need each other. I always say that, if we are doing mixed method, both of them, quantitative and qualitative, need each other, they support each other. If you have that, then it's okay. But the word change shouldn't be there. You don't change. Yeah. If you want to use both methods, it should be from the beginning. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Prof. I hope that can answer Pak Justinus' question. We have a couple more questions. Next one from Ibu Maya Puspita Sari. Dear Prof. Nafsiah, thank you so much for your insightful presentation. I would like to ask about your statement saying that it is suggested not to use one method only to do the data triangulation. How if we conduct interview, for example, but with different participants or stakeholders? Will it be okay? For example, I interview school principals, teachers, students, and parents, or do I still need to do another method? Thank you, Prof.
All right, thank you. Now, what you mentioned just now is data triangulation. Okay, meaning to say, you have the same data, same questions, but you are asking different people. You're talking about schools, maybe you're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the students, different levels. And that is data triangulation. Right? So you're only using one method. You're only using interview. Right? But you interview different people. Okay. And also another thing, when you talk about interviews, so maybe what you can also, we can also consider as data triangulation. Okay, so you interview different people, maybe the middle level and the third level, you ask the same questions, but the top level, you ask different questions, different set of questions, because they are top management. So maybe you have a different set of questions for them. Yeah? So, but the second and third level, maybe ask the same question. So that is called data triangulation. So you can look up and look for data triangulation. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Ibu Maya, I hope it answers your question. Next question from Pak Victor. This is a very good friend of mine. Good morning, Prof. Nafsiah. If we are doing qualitative research, we are facing culture boundaries. How can we fix the problem? Can you give the tips for doing successful research? Thank you.
Okay, when you talk about, thank you for the question. When you talk about culture boundaries, culture, culture covers a lot of things, right? We talk about the people, you talk about the custom, you talk about the behavior, okay? Now, we cannot change that. Yeah, we cannot change that culture. Because it is there. You cannot change. But what you can do is to find out, the different cultures, just sharing with you, I think in June, in June, I was in Bali, right? And then they gave a talk on the what do you call that? Desa, Keuangan Desa in Bali. I mean, it is so unique. Yeah, so unique about how they are operating there, and then the person in charge explain everything. So after the presentation, I asked him, "Do you have a book on this? On what you explained?" He said, "No." I said, "You should write a book. You should, whatever that you mentioned just now, put it in a book." So that it will be a legacy, for people who wants to know more about apa yang berlaku, di Bali, how they operate, the financial aspect, because in Bali it is something different, right? That's the culture that is happening in Bali. But so he asked me, how do you do that? I said, okay, we'll talk it later about it. So we cannot change that. But what we can do, we can share with other people about all the different culture. And I think Indonesia is so different from the other parts of the world. You have so many cultures, as I said, different people, you're talking about behavior, you're talking about the custom and so on. So you want to break the boundaries? No, I don't think so. But I think what you want to do is to share with the world. Share with the world about what you have. And that is where qualitative comes in. Okay, you talk about, the different cultures that you have in Indonesia. Okay, so maybe you, as someone from the tourism faculty, okay, maybe you talk about how to promote tourism in terms of, in terms of all the different cultures and how you work together as a team and so on, right? And then maybe from the economy, how the tourism can improve the economy and so on, and then all the different parts of different people from all parts of Indonesia. And if you talk about the financial aspect, where can I fit in? Into all this financial aspect when it comes to culture. So to me, it all depends on what you want to look at. Are you looking at what? At an organization? Okay, you're talking about organization in terms of their religion, in terms of the ethnic group, or what? Okay, so you know more than me, on what that you want to describe. So to me, maintain that culture that you have. Okay, maintain it. Share with the world. And I always tell, students in Indonesia, when I give talk, I say, you all are very, very lucky that there are so many things that you can talk about, that you can share with the world. So do qualitative research, right? Do something that can express your what do you call that? Your love for the country, and then share with the world. I'm sure there's so many people who wants to know about what is happening in Indonesia narratively. Not in terms of how many percent, how many people are rich, how many people are poor, how many. No. Right? It's more on. Okay, we can use that percentage, but we can say how do these people survive and so on. So only qualitative research can guide you in doing that. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Prof. Nafsiah. I hope this can give more insights and perspective to Pak Victor. Another message from Pak Rinaldi. This is actually a acknowledgement for you, Prof. Apologies, Prof. I'm not able to open my microphone as I am currently in the library. Your explanation was truly excellent, and I sincerely thank you for addressing my concerns and for the valuable insights you have shared. Coincidentally, I am preparing to submit my manuscript to Critical Perspective on Accounting, and I hope your feedback can be of great guidance. Good luck, Pak Rinaldi, for the writing of your manuscript.
Congratulations and good luck.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, next question, maybe the last one in the chat box, or probably if some of the audience still want to ask question, please do. We still have enough time. From Ibu Eka Parianti, dear Prof. Nafsiah, thank you for the valuable presentation. In qualitative research, researchers are sometimes emotionally involved with participants. How can one maintain balance between emotional involvement, which can enrich the data, and the risk of losing analytical objectivity? Good question.
Yes, this is a very good question.
Interesting.
Very interesting. When you do qualitative, this is something that do happen. You become emotionally involved. You become not just emotionally, that you become part of it. You become, especially when you use participation, observation, and so on. You become, sometimes you become sad, you become angry. These are the things that I cannot help you because that is your emotion. So you got to control that. These are the things. We can't help it. I do face the same issue also. right? When we interview people, sometimes you have people who's not cooperative. You ask one question, they ask yes. I'm not sure. I think so. That kind of feedback, and you become so angry at that time, and you feel like I just want to go out. I just, you have that feelings. So you are emotionally involved because of what happened, but you need to control that. Yeah, you need to control that, and I think nobody can help that except you yourself. Yeah, you yourself. You got to control that emotion. Yeah, if at any moment you have that, yeah, and I think you yourself know that it is affecting your data collection, stop it. You stop it and take a break, yeah, and then leave for a while. And then if you are okay, maybe another day, arrange another appointment, or don't continue. Don't continue. You stop it and take a break. Yeah, you got to control your emotion. Yeah, in fact, not just when you're interviewing, but sometimes when you're writing, also you're expressing your opinion. You feel you're like very, very angry and very sad. So you got to learn how to control. Okay, so when you are in that situation, stop, take a break. Yeah, and then once you're okay, then start and continue doing it. Okay then.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much for all the answers. I don't see any more questions on the chat box. Oh, here again, one more thing. From Ibu Stefani, ethnography is ethnography within online media. Data taken from the online media such as comments from the netizens, emojis, likes, and so on. Is the ethnography's data can be deep enough, or do we need to mix the other data in qualitative research? For example, if we took the data from the comments of a promotion or advertisement of a product.
Very simple answer. No. If you want to rely on the comments of netizens and so on, no, the answer is no, because you are doing a research. You must remember, the person you interview, things that you get, again, we go back to reliability and validity. It must be valid. So when you interview who? Manager. Okay, why you interview the manager? Because he is the expert in that area. You must have the why there. So you do not know who these netizens are. Yeah, who are they? What are their expertise? What they know? What experience they have? So no. Okay, and another advice also, if you want to take what do you call that? Comments, or not just comments, but news from the newspapers and so on. No. Because when you talk about newspapers, we talk about social media, but now we talk about newspapers itself. You have reporters. Some reporters, they're very unethical. They will disclose all kinds of information that is not correct, not accurate, and they are not expert. You have a reporter who is not expert in fraud, and then they start talking about fraud. You talk about someone who is not expert in that law, and then they start talking about law. So no. To me, not just to me, but my supervisors always advise that never use any information from the newspapers, because we can never trust the reporters, unless you have like specific columns. Sometimes the newspaper, you have the specific column from experts, talking about the economy, yes, then you can take, because that person is an expert in that area. But other than that, no. Netizens, no, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Maybe I can add a little. Ethnography, in my opinion, is probably more likely for marketing campaign in business life. Probably. I hope I am right. Okay. I think we have come to the end of this session. No more question I see on the chat box. So before we go on to the conclusion or the closings, let me make some notes here as the conclusion of all the presentation from Prof. Nafsiah, which is very excellent. Once again, thank you, Prof. I noted some characteristic or key characteristics of qualitative research in this case as follows. Number one, qualitative research is very flexible and iterative, allowing new ideas and patterns to emerge during the data collection and analysis process. And secondly, it often uses smaller, more focused samples rather than large population from quantitative point of view. And the last one is analysis of qualitative data involves looking for themes and patterns, which can be more time intensive than analyzing quantitative data. So in this case, we have to be more in-depth involved with the analysis that we are doing if we are using qualitative approaches. I hope that conclusion can be right. Prof, you can give comments one more time before I hand it over the microphone to our Master of Ceremony. Please, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I'm taking this opportunity to thank Direktur, Professor Ali, for allowing me to be here, to the Director of Postgraduate School, Professor Maman, and also to you, our dear Moderator, Pak Johan, for giving me this precious opportunity. Because I think what I explained today is I'm trying to share my knowledge, my experience in doing qualitative research, supervising students doing qualitative research, and also this, meeting people discussing about qualitative research, because all my research are related to qualitative research, and I felt that we should have more people to do qualitative research in order for us to share more information. I'm not saying that quantitative shouldn't be done. We should have both. But I think in Indonesia, for instance, less people are doing qualitative research for whatever reason. So maybe that is also a good research. Why people are not doing qualitative research. So, but I think qualitative research is something that you should explore and start looking. So what I've given is very minimum. So maybe, you can just, with technology, you can just Google and get information, and then maybe later, if I'm invited again, and maybe we can focus on the different types of data methods and data analysis, and or even writing a good research paper or thesis and so on. Because I love sharing, whatever that I have. So thank you very much. I'm really honored to be here. So again, thank you everyone for listening to me, for spending time listening to what I've said today. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Prof. Nafsiah. Big round of applause for Prof. Nafsiah. And we look forward to another international GAC lecture next time. So I also want to apologize if there is any inconvenience circumstances during this session. And I would like to hand it over back to Pak Doni. Pak Doni, thank you very much. The time is yours, Pak. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, all the participants. Ya, silakan Pak Doni, bisa diambil alih kembali. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu semuanya yang sudah hadir. Mohon izin sebentar saya ganti background sebentar ya untuk di itunya avatarnya. Saya masih menggunakan avatar. Baik. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu sudah hadir di kegiatan lecture International Guest Lecture. Terima kasih Pak Johan, Prof. Nafsiah Mohamed yang sudah hadir. Izin Ibu jangan kapok-kapok ya untuk hadir kembali untuk memberikan ilmu ke kita semua mahasiswa Magister Manajemen ataupun yang sudah hadir di sini dari Sekolah Pascasarjana tentunya untuk berbagi ilmu dengan Ibu sangat luar biasa ini Ibu, ada banyak pengalaman beberapa teknik terkait qualitative research methodnya ya Bu ya. Semoga menjadi berkah bagi kita semuanya. Terima kasih kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang sudah hadir. Untuk daftar hadir nanti saya tampilkan ke dalam chat ya, menu chat. Kepada Bapak dan Ibu semuanya kami persilakan untuk menampilkan video layarnya untuk kita foto bersama. Silakan Bapak dan Ibu ditampilkan foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Untuk tim teknisi minta dibantu untuk dibantu foto bersama ya. Apakah sudah siap?
Siap Mas Dani.
Sudah siap?
Siap Mas.
Baik, kita hitung dari berapa slide, Bapak Mas Teknisi?
Ada 3.
Ada berapa?
Ada 3 slide.
Ada 3 slide. Ini slide yang
Iya.
pertama dulu ya Mas Christian ya. Ya, slide
Siap.
pertama dulu kita hitung 3, 2, 1.
Oke.
Baik, untuk yang ke slide kedua silakan. 1, 2, 3. Untuk yang slide ketiga, slide yang ketiga, 1, 2, 3. Oke, sudah semuanya,
Sudah, Mas.
Mas Kris?
Sudah Mas.
Sudah semuanya ya, baik. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu semuanya sudah bergabung di acara ini. Salam sehat kepada Bapak Ibu semuanya sudah hadir. Akhirul salam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, rahayu rahayu semuanya. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Untuk linknya absen saya kirim ke ini ya, ke ke chat ya. Izin. Sebentar lagi proses ini saya kirimkan.
Nice to meet you.
Halo Prof, how is it? I'm fine. Prof. I'm sorry. I haven't seen you for ages.